Make 2020 fantastic. Come to AireCon, 13th to the 15th of March, and you can meet some fantastic people, play some fantastic games. Just everything is going to be fantastic. You can get your tickets now by going to airecon.co.uk/tickets or by following the links in the show notes. And now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for January. It's cold, it's dark, it's wet, it's people are a bit, People are thinking about Christmas. People are thinking about what's happening after Christmas. You could say that people are maybe even thinking about the aftermath of Christmas. So I was thinking to myself, who can I get on to talk about an aftermath? There is only one person you can get on the show to talk about an aftermath. He's been on before. He's officially a repeat offender. It's Jerry Hawthorne from Plaid Games. Hello, Jerry.
Hello, I'm back.
Yay! I'm so excited. How you doing, first of all?
Doing okay.
Good. Okay. Did you have a good Christmas break?
It was pretty good. The time that I got to spend with my family was really good. I've had a few household repairs that have come along at a bad time, so that sort of sucked. But we're part of Asmodee, so there's been that whole big mess too. So,
what's that? Oh, right, yeah, because are they announcing kind of cuts and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So is everything a bit kind of up in the air and stuff like that at the moment then?
Oh yeah, sure. There'll take some time for all the chips to fall and land where they will and stuff. So we've been dealing with that.
Is that kind of taking you away from concentrating on the kind of the niceties then, kind of like the board games, the promotion, a little bit of aftermath? If you had to kind of get involved with that side of things, or do you get protected from getting involved with that by Colby then?
Yeah, well, I kind of stick to my work. I stay in my lane, and but we lost several employees here, so the people that you're used to collaborating with, they're gone, and so that can be kind of tough.
Okay. Well, let's get into aftermath, because I'm seeing your face kind of going from a kind of a little smile to, I don't want to deal. Can we not talk about something else?
Well, I thought I would get that out of the way so that we could
we can dance.
I know people have questions out there about that stuff, so
yeah, it must be kind of difficult, and it must be tough, and especially when things kind of like, it's like a takeover and you think there's money kind of coming in, and then people are saying, actually we need to kind of tighten the cloth, and you're kind of like, well, I could have done that myself. I could have been bringing sandwiches instead of going to the deli for lunch, if you just kind of mentioned that and kind of told you. But in terms of aftermath, people are talking a lot of nice stuff about aftermath. Now, you sitting there, that's a knowing nod.
Yeah.
So you're like, I told you it was going to be kind of like it was kind of like going to be a good game.
I'm very proud of it. It's a lot of fun, and it's got a great story and a really interesting world. And I think people are discovering that, and they're exploring it, and I'm hearing a lot of good, positive response about it.
Because it follows, in terms of the design you're using, again, it's kind of like your adventure book line, which we were speaking about last time with like Stuffed Fables, and I think even Comanauts as well. And at that time, I'm gathering at the time you were keeping that a secret from me, what you were doing with Aftermath. But is it becoming easier to kind of think up scenarios and start to produce these line of games? You really found you kind of, you're talking about staying in your lane, but have you found you're kind of like your design fast lane? Because you seem to be pushing these out now a little bit, pretty quickly now. So you find yourself in a happy design space.
I work full time as a game designer, so I don't have to juggle with another job or another gig of some kind. So when I'm at my work from 9 to 5 every day, I'm like constantly getting stuff done.
Yeah,
and so and I'm a workaholic, so I work and I never stop working. I work 7 days a week, and I'm always writing, and that writing really helps when it comes to crafting a game that's has a lot of narrative, because you have the story already written, and then you just have to gamify it. Really, is what you do. And Aftermath is kind of cool. It's kind of different because I sort of created a new little engine for it.
Yeah,
so it has some similarities to the previous two games, but instead of being a dice-driven game, it's a card-driven game, and it also has this colony management element to it that makes it really unique. And I think that that combination of the little card driven mechanics and stuff, it's like a little mini game within a game. All these little mini games that make up the overall experience are all interesting and fresh.
Was it a conscious decision to do that then? Did you kind of sit down and say, right, I want to do something different over the normal kind of the stuff that we've done previously with the dice then? Just to see, I guess, if you could, if it would fit in with the the adventure kind of book.
Yeah, what I did is I didn't like the amount of cost that the big bag of dice added to the game, and it was reducing some flexibility in some of the other components.
Yeah,
and so I started brainstorming a card version of the dice system, and the cards afforded me more flexibility in design, because they allow you to mitigate luck in interesting ways, and they I think that it just provides a more interesting experience, because I love the dice too. I love the little mini game aspect of this, of taking a turn where you're not just moving your dude and then doing something. You're literally trying to figure out how to work your cards the best you can to have the most effective turn. And I just think that's really interesting. And so I brought it. I made a little prototype, and I brought it to Essen with me on a trip with Colby. And I told him that while we're on this trip, I wanted to sit down and show him my card version. And I'd already started designing Aftermath at that time based upon the dice system from the previous two iterations.
Yeah.
So we sat down in Essen and started playing a little scenario that I had made using my new card system. And he was like, "Yes, this is great. This is better. You got to use this. You got to transfer it all over to this." So then when I got back from Essen, I just immediately started translating it over into the card system, all the work that I had already done.
Is it still exciting to pitch stuff to Colby then, if you've got stuff working away in the background?
It is very exciting, because I still have to pitch just like anybody else would. I still have to sell it to him, and he's an interesting and clever person. And so when you're showing him something, you can't really read him until he finally gives you a thumbs up or thumbs down. And so I didn't know whether he was enjoying this or not. He was like picking out all these flaws and everything. I'm like, well, this is like a rough thing that I brought just to show you. I whipped it up in a couple of days so I could have this to show you. But there's some things about it that he immediately didn't like and wanted me to change, which I did. But overall, he felt like it was very compelling. And so we switched over to a card system, and that gave me all kinds of opportunities. to manipulate the decks and stuff like that, and it basically spawned a whole bunch of new ideas that drove the Aftermath into this sort of. It's an interesting game. We call it a campaign game, but we should have called it what it really is. It's more of like a persistent world, because you're not really going in a traditional campaign sense. You're not going through that entirely linear experience. You're sort of sandboxy. You're going out and you're exploring, and while you're exploring, the things that'll happen to you while you're exploring will generate new missions that you can go on the next time you play and stuff. And the game remembers from play to play, and so it really is more like a persistent world than a campaign game.
Yeah, and the thing with campaigns is that if you're not getting enough into a campaign, you never see sometimes the finished model or the final version that the designer wanted to bring to the table. That they sometimes, they leave the best tricks up their sleeves until the very, very end. And it's like, and if you've not managed to get to that level, round 7, round 10, round 15, then you'll walk away and you'll say, well, it kind of really never went anywhere, and that's why we stopped playing. Where that you can hear the designer 1,000 miles away going, no, if you just keep playing it, this is kind of when the next thing kind of comes round. And you, going back to Mice and Mystics, you always kind of did that with Mice and Mystics because there was always little flavors of additional mechanics that you tried to bring in at every level, kind of thing.
Yeah, what I did, the way I structured Mice and Mystics is that I wrote this story that had your, the typical arc of a story. Mm-hmm. And I broke that story up into 10 roughly equal sized chapters.
Yeah.
And then each chapter I structured with the same little arc. Yeah. So you get the same kind of thrill each time you play, rather than, having the campaign, having each game be a step up to the climax. You have a little climax in each game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I did with Aftermath. You have all these missions have their own little cadence to them,
Yeah.
But with Aftermath, you have three main plot lines happening at the same time, and then you're encountering those plots through all these little side quests and stuff, and so it's not really a linear experience like Mice and Mystics. You have these, like, you could finish off one of the 3 storylines fairly early on in the campaign.
Yeah.
So you have like these 3 really climactic storylines which happen during the campaign. So it's kind of very, very different. Very different.
Is that with you gaining more and more confidence? As I mentioned at the beginning, kind of like getting into the adventure book system, but you kind of like pushing the envelope now, because to me, the worst thing about dice is the randomness of them. Mm-hmm. Whereas cards, you seem to be able to take a much more, I guess, considered kind of source of action, and know that, if, and the other thing with dice, you roll dice, you get a bad roll, like Mice and Mystics. A number of times we got down to the brass tacks because we rolled pretty badly. Whereas in a kind of hands, if I played this card and things go wrong, that's my fault. It's not. It's because of bad planning, or it's because I was too greedy, or I wasn't kind of forceful kind of enough. So is that what that allows you as well? Is it allowing you to bring in kind of little mini mechanics as well that people can play as part of the cards too?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved to have little mini games within a game. I think that makes it fun. Yeah. I like a player's turn to feel. I like it to go by quickly, but I like it to feel consequential. Like they had all these little things that they could do, activities that they could do. And in Mice and Mystics, I think it was kind of bare bones. You had a little bit of stuff you could do. There's always a lot of fighting, and almost everything hinged on your dice rolling. But in Aftermath, you can sort of craft your turn a little bit more. You have a little bit more control over how you take your turn. You see the hand of cards, and kind of like what you can do. And the way it works is you draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. and the different colored cards match different attributes on your character, and the numbers on the cards, tell you how strong you are in that attribute when you use those cards. But any two cards that are the same color or the same number can be combined together, so you can chain together cards to make these bigger plays, right? So let's say you want to make a melee attack and you against some bad guy, and you to make a melee attack you have to play red cards, right? And let's say you have a red 2, and then you also have a blue 2. Well, you can play the blue 2 because it matches the number of the first card that you played. So now you're at 4 instead of just 2. And so you can combine these cards together, and then that feels kind of fun and rewarding when you're chaining together. It's just a little mini game. It's real simple, but you're constantly able to do these little chain together these little moves, And
one thing we've not mentioned and not touched it, I mean, and I probably should have been doing this at the beginning, was Aftermath is continuing your obsession with being the mice guy.
It is.
In that the world itself is, it's basically humans have disappeared, and you're playing a band of plucky little rodents who's going around going, "Where's the cheese?" But also kind of going on kind of little adventures. Did the story kind of write itself? I mean, was that something you completely penned yourself, or did you get input from other people?
No, I wrote the story myself, and as I was finishing up the story, I kept on doing revisions on ways that I could make it have even more emotional impact. Ideas that came to me, and I was able to quickly change different portions of the story before it finally became full. And the idea is that you got this colony of little rodents that were emancipated from pet stores, and and some of them were field mice, some of them were house mice, some of them were pets, but they all are sort of living in this world where humans have disappeared, and everybody's out to survive, sort of in the aftermath of these humans just disappearing for no real reason whatsoever. And it's just you become attached to the mice and to their colonies. You get to know the different characters and stuff, and you sort of get attached to their world and to their survival. And you get to know the bad guys, and they have a lot of character too. And there's various little factions in the game that you can build alliances with some, and the things you do are going to affect your game. So let's say you make an alliance with this one faction, then it'll have you remove some cards from the game so you won't encounter those guys. Or let's say you make enemies with these guys, then it'll have you add cards to your encounter deck, and then you're going to encounter them more. So everything you do sort of affects the state of the world that you're in.
It sounds a bit... This is like your Mad Max.
It is.
Your Magnum.
It's like Mad Rats.
You said it better. Okay. I'll give you that one. I'll have to come back with something cleverer.
There are little vehicles in the game. You can get you can find batteries, and you can find little toy cars, and tinker with them until you have little vehicles so you can travel further out from your colony.
Just give me it just now. I'm just that's all I want. I want little rodents able to drive. The Mad Rats thing is kind of fine. But was that just you allowed to say, well, there's nothing kind of holding me back. I can present this to Colby, and at the end of the day, Colby, if he doesn't like certain parts of it, he'll just say it's too big, it's too remove it. But I guess with your experience, are you quite good at kind of like trimming the fat from a game to get down to really kind of what works and what's kind of just unrequired extra?
Well, I'd like to think that that I'm a work in progress, and maybe I haven't made my best game yet. But the way we work is Colby and I are fairly collaborative about the games I work on. He pretty much lets me go wild, and then he ropes me back in because he has managerial and editorial dominion over what I do and stuff. and he comes in and he just makes everything better and trims stuff out that that has to go because it won't fit in the budget or what have you. But I don't mind over designing stuff, and then having it trimmed down, because I'm a very prolific creator, and so I have lots of stuff to give. I have lots of ideas, and I'm constantly, like I said, I'm constantly working. So this is just what I love to do. And when I changed careers to become a full-time game designer, I didn't want to do it sort of half-heartedly. Some people have said that they feel like my writing in Aftermath was written with more confidence than in the past, and maybe that's true. I did really feel in tune with these characters and the story, and there's a lot of the art direction and the creative process of it that what I wanted to say about environmental custodianship and just the statements about humanity, and being able to tell this story about humanity by taking humans out of the picture and then having us sort of be a memory only. I find that compelling, and I think I felt really good writing in that world.
Have you allowed for? Do the adventure books? Do they allow you for expansions? I mean, with a deck of cards, I would imagine that you've got the ability to have a faction deck almost and say, right, here's a group of cards, here's some critters for you to add on to it as well, as opposed to a dice, which kind of, okay, but how to expand more dice, I guess. But has that allowed you to kind of like be a bit more open in terms of it adding additional scenarios into the story then?
Oh yeah. It's we set Aftermath up to be sort of plug and play. So if we have any other expansion material for it, then you should be able to purchase that and then immediately put it right into the game and have it just fit right in.
Okay.
And the kind of things we have planned are additional characters and additional enemies and additional villains and items and missions and all different kinds of cards that you can just plug right in, stick them into your decks, and then keep playing.
Have you had time to kind of like dip into what else is out in the market? Are you still getting time to kind of like play as much, or has it been a little bit more kind of nose to the grindstone at the moment?
I think game designers, a lot of times we get so deep in our projects that sometimes we don't get out and play as much as we want. But I've been playing like, for instance, I think some of the games I've played recently that I'm really smitten with, as an example, the Clank Legacy game, Acquisitions Incorporated. Have you tried that at all?
I've just been speaking to somebody who's been playing it, so I've heard it's fantastic.
It's so fun. Yeah, it really delivers. It really delivers. And sometimes I play prototypes of other designers that they want me to look at and stuff, and so I can't really talk about those, but I've done some of that, and playing other people's designs is a big part of something that drives me and compels me. I like to look at other people's stuff and see what's going on under the hood and stuff. So yeah, I've been playing Skull Hollow, which I really like. Have you tried Skull Hollow?
Yes, I have. I reviewed it as well, and I kind of people said, "Well, what's it like?" And I said, "It's like a skirmish miniatures game, basically. Yeah. It's like, don't let the kind of the lovely, because the artwork's gorgeous, and I know I speak to Edo now and again, and I just I messaged her, I just went, this is just fantastic, and it's disarmingly more difficult than it appears. I lent my copy to a couple of friends of mine. They run their own. They do the Staying In podcast, which is an excellent kind of podcast. Just a quick plug there, but they messaged me and went, "This is really difficult. This is kind of really, really hard, and it depends on the Guardian that you're kind of using." What did you think about it?
I loved it. I think it's a fun little game. I haven't even explored all the Guardians or anything, but we've had a lot of fun with it, and it's like it's great because you pull it out, you set it up, doesn't take hardly any time.
Yeah.
and you get to playing, and it's like 45 minutes later you're done, and I love that. I like games that have like that just are bite sized sometimes.
There's still a good crunchiness to it, though. I mean,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of strategy in there
Oh yeah.
with the way that the cards are coming into play. So it's like, again, it's like if you're not playing the right cards at the right time, or I think the only thing that I found was the foxing sometimes were a little bit kind of underpowered, but then again, when I played it a different way and I went in all in attack with them, because they're the kind of the guys you can replace really, really quickly. It's really, really easy to get your forces back up to scratch again if you do lose people. So it's almost a case that you're kind of sacrificing some of your units in order to kind of gain ground. And I found if I did it that way, then it was almost kind of matched up. But yeah, definitely, I really, I still, I've I've kind of lent it to my friend, and I also lent them Parks as well, from Keymaster, and I said, if you want to hold on to Parks, you can, but if you don't send Skulk Hollow back, I'm going to hunt you down. I'm going to kind of come after you.
Skulk them. I play really.
I can't tell if you've been like on the gasoline, but you're definitely on fire.
I play real aggressively with my Foxen. I mean, like I get up there, I climb that monster real fast and start really harassing them, because it's harder to actually hurt you when you're on the monster. So
yes.
And so then that overwhelms my opponent, and they spend all this time throwing me off. Well, that doesn't hurt you. You just fly off and you just get back on.
It's I think the interesting thing is Edo at the moment's doing his Kickstarter for Liftoff, Get Me Off This Planet, which was the first game that he brought to Kickstarter, and it was one of the first games I actually backed on Kickstarter. So I've got the original kind of sitting on my cupboard, and he's doing kind of like a new version. It's kind of interesting to see that the presentation's still up there, and he's done he's done his herbaceous and herbaceous sprouts and stuff like that. But it's really cool to see kind of somebody grow from where they were at the beginning to kind of do the fully fledged, and to bring something kind of so kind of complicated to the table. In terms of kind of like looking forward to the rest of the year, what's kind of coming out and stuff like that. I mean, have you got a couple of other projects you're going to be bringing to the table? Are you going to be concentrating on kind of getting Aftermath?
I have one game that's coming out. Should be this summer, maybe late spring, early summer. Should be in time for Gen Con for sure. And it's Stuffed Fables, Oh Brother. It's the sequel to Stuffed Fables. And so that one I can talk about.
Right. Okay.
There's other stuff that I can't talk about, but that one I can talk about. That's public knowledge now. And but you're the first person who I've actually been able to have be on a podcast and talk about it openly. So
furnish me. Tell me up.
So if you're familiar with Stuffed Fables, you know that it's about this little girl whose stuffed animals come to life at night to protect her from the monsters that come from under the bed. Yeah. And I'm just going to breeze over the plot here real quick. But on the first night on the job, they get sucked into the other world where the monsters come from, and it's a dark and dismal world ruled by the Nightmare King and populated by a bunch of lost and misfit toys, basically. And the Stuffies, which are our little heroes, they sort of get swept up in managing the needs of both worlds. They feel sorry for the lost and broken toys in the fall, but then they also have to protect their girl. And when the Nightmare King finds them meddling in his world, he goes after their little girl and starts to meddle in her life a little bit, messing up her sleep and causing her, to have bad daytime activities. So, Oh Brother, the family has grown. They have a new little baby brother. And
right.
He has his own toys and stuff. And so he has two new stuffies that come with him. And it just, you get involved in a whole bunch of new and different adventures. The world of the fall has changed a little bit. It's been it's under new management, so to speak.
All right.
The little boy, he has just one little stuffed animal. He has a little stuffed unicorn named Pokey.
Wow.
That was given to him, I believe, by his grandmother. So he has this one little stuffed animal named Pokey. And the little boy, as soon as they put him in his big boy bed, he keeps getting out of bed at night and climbing into bed with the parents, which is really, messing up their sleep and everything. So the father gets a clever idea. He goes back into a box of old toys from the 80s, from back when he was a child, and he gets an old action figure from when he was a kid. And he tells his little boy, "I'm going to give you this, this prized toy of mine from when I was a child, if you promise not to get out of bed anymore." And so this is how this little child gets this little action figure. So then at the first night that he's asleep with the little action figure, of course, the little action figure wakes up, and now he is officially a Stuffy, but he's not snuggly, he's not cuddly, he's all into action and everything. And he has to sort of learn, he's like a new guy on the job. He sort of has to learn, the ropes.
Yeah.
And the very first night on the job, he's all action, right? So when the minions come from under the bed, something happens and he ends up chasing him into the other world. And then the Stuffies are like, "Oh no." And they have to follow him in, and they go off on these new adventures, and they find out all the different things that have changed in the fall, and they meet old friends, and then there's new ones, and there's a bunch of new bad guys that they have to deal with. And it's just another big bunch of storybook fun.
I take it you don't need to have the original Stuffed Fables to be able to pick it up and enjoy it.
You do need to be the original. It's not a standalone.
Oh, all right. Okay, it's an expansion then. All right. Okay. Was that must have been an awful lot of fun to kind of develop, again, being able to kind of move up, to kind of add on to stuff and maybe not correct stuff, but kind of slightly tweak stuff kind of here and there. I mean, not many people get to do that,
I didn't really tweak. I mean, I really didn't tweak anything because we didn't want to provide a new rule book, and we didn't want to, we didn't want to do a full-blown standalone thing. But there are some gameplay differences just because I wrote these moments, these story moments. I wrote them with a different sort of idea in mind, a little more action oriented, and there's a lot of it's just a lot of interesting challenges to the players, assuming that they've played through Stuffed Fables and so they've got some skills. It's really fun. I always said that I probably wouldn't do an expansion for Stuffed Fables or a sequel or whatever you want to call it, but unless a story came to me that I felt was compelling. And then this story came to me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I went and I pitched it to Colby, and of course, he was like, "Oh yeah, we got to do that." And so that was, I just started working on it.
Do you think? I mean, is there a movement to kind of develop this into a further kind of IP? I mean, have you got ideas of seeing? Because it's a love. What I've heard a couple of things about Stuffed Fables. Yeah, it looks glorious, but secondly, it's hard as nails as a game. It really is. It really is kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, and some people are really surprised about the level of challenge. They go in and expect kind of one thing, and what they actually get is they say, "You should try this because there's a lot of challenge here. There's a lot of, it really kind of lives up to over and above what I expected it to do."
Well, it's a fail forward game, so you really can't lose the game, so to speak. The only way that you could actually truly lose a game is if all of your stuffies have lost all of their stuffing at the same time, which is that only happened like once the entire time during playtesting that had ever happened to anybody. So that's a very rare occurrence that would happen. But getting the good ending is not that easy. You have to really manage your time really well. And of course, sometimes you can have victory stolen from you at the last minute because you ran out of time and the little girl woke up, and then you ended up getting the bad ending. But you still advance the story, and it's still a hell of a lot of fun as you play through it, even if you don't get the good ending. And the bad endings aren't that bad; they're just not as good as the good endings. We're talking about a game for families to play, and
Exactly.
I had this experience where I had this one of my son's friends. He was having a sleepover, and he had this friend who was just he found out about Mice and Mystics, and he was just begging to come over and play Mice and Mystics. And so I sat down with my son and his friend and myself, and we played Mice and Mystics. And it was the first chapter of the game, and we got almost to the end. We were almost about ready to win, and then we lost. And
Wow.
that kid just about started crying. I mean, he had just put so much. You know what I'm saying? He put so much. And in Mice and Mystics, when you lose, boom, it's done.
I've been there, Jerry. I've been there.
It's over.
When I wrote my review, that's what I spoken about. It's like, it's one of the games where, it was almost a case that a couple of times I played it with my youngest, and they were very young at the time, is that there was a little bit of house ruling going on, because otherwise it would have been a little bit of disappointment kind of going on. And yeah, I can understand that. I played it myself and I lost.
I always felt like when I was a kid, that's the way games were. I mean, when you lost, I think
Yeah.
that it was actually good. You learn how to cope with. I mean, we need to teach kids how to cope with disappointment. But that day, when my son's friend was on the verge of tears, and then all the rest of the evening, he just every once in a while he would say, "I really wish we would have won." Oh my gosh! I think maybe who knows how they do things in his household, but you
didn't cackle like that, did you? When he said, "I really wish," you didn't sit there and cackle at him and laugh at him.
Of course not. No. No, but I felt really bad. I felt really bad, and it made me think. Golly, if I get another chance to do a family game, when I design it, I'm going to do it in such a way that even when you lose, you still have some kind of resolution that keeps you in it. That doesn't make you feel like you were a complete failure. That like keeps you in it. Like better luck next time. We're going to get them. That even if the game tells you we're going to get them, then that's enough for a kid.
Well, it's not a finality with life, isn't it? Anyway, I mean, if you have a bad day at work, or if you have to get up the next day and get on with it. I mean, it's not a case like it's game over and you kind of start again. I mean, it is a valuable lesson.
That's right.
And not everything is a win condition as well. I mean, I've got, as my kids grow up, you can tell the difference between the thinking where there's, kids accept losing sometimes, and kids aren't always exposed to losing. So everybody gets a taking part medal, everybody gets a star. And then when kids don't get that, the devastation is sometimes kind of inconsolable. So I kind of get that. Have you, as you're delving more and more into creating worlds and writing stories, have you just thought about, I just want to write a script for something, or write a kid's book write a kid's book without the components kind of thing? Or are you kind of happy kind of where you kind of are?
I'm happy where I'm at. Like, I'm not a writer. I always say that I write stories in the language of board games. So that's the language that I use to tell my stories. That's the medium that I use to to paint these pictures. And I don't know how to do it any other way. I'm not a very skilled writer. Well, I'm gaining more skill, but and I'm not there's a lot of things that's missing in my writing. My prose is horrible. And I don't give my characters enough voice. I spend more time telling a story and less time, working on making sure that my characters have equal voice in the game, in the story. And I work very closely, and always have, with Mr. Bistro, our staff writer. He was with me on Mice and Mystics and all my games. But what he does is he takes my stories and he uses his skill with words to make them professionally present them, basically. Yeah. So he finishes them for me. I create the story, and then he comes in and makes it all, polishes it all up, and he'll give each character their own voice. And when I say voice, it's more complex than just saying that they're saying something. It's not dialogue. He gives them a voice. For instance, Stitch in Stuffed Fables never talks. He never uses conjunctions. So he'll say a word. He'll say, he could not do it, rather than he couldn't do it, kind of thing. And that's an example of things that Mr. Bistro does. Is he keeps track of all my characters and how their wording goes, and he keeps lists of their common phrases and how they parse words and stuff, and all that stuff that he does. That's his forte. That's his expertise, and we work together, and that's how we make the magic.
But still, is there a little story sitting around?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I every time I think of a story, I also think of how it would be a game.
How can I stick some cards with this?
I absolutely love games. I absolutely love adventure games. I absolutely love RPG experience in a box. That's my thing, man. I love that. I love dungeon crawls. I love Hero Quest. I love that kind of thing. So,
is there an IP that if you could get your hands on, they'd love to turn into a game?
Yes.
Like, we can't say yes.
I mean, yeah, there's like tons of them, but for me, I have a lot of ideas too. And so sometimes it's almost just easier and funner to like make my own world, But yes, I'll give you an example of some that I really, really find compelling. Okay.
Yeah.
I really love Mutant Year Zero. Have you seen this video game?
It'll ring a bell. If I see it, then I'll probably know it. But
it's kind of like XCOM, but the video game. The new modern XCOM. But you play the part of mutants in this post-apocalyptic world, and one of the mutants is a duck. The other one's a pig. But I just love. I mean, I would love. Oh my gosh, I would love to make a board game.
I can imagine you doing something with that as well.
It would be so. Yeah, and it's very similar to Aftermath. I discovered Mutant Year Zero after I'd already almost finished Aftermath, and they're so similar that I'm like, oh man, I would love to work on Mutant Year Zero. And it's not even like the most popular video game. I'm not like picking it because it's a strong IP or that I think it's a strong IP. I just think it's really cool.
Just what you could do with it,
And I love the gameplay in it. It's all stealth gameplay, and I would love to make a board game that had where stealth was a big factor, but not the only way to do stuff, but a big factor. And there's Missile Mouse. Have you ever heard of Missile Mouse, the comic book?
No, I have definitely not heard of Missile Mouse.
So here's another. It's not a very strong IP, but man, I would love to do this one. So, Missile Mouse is a science fiction mouse hero that he's like a hero that like a Jedi or something, but he's a mouse.
Let's find out. Let's check out what Missile, because otherwise, I can't just sit here and go, what's this about? Let's just have a look. Everybody, you just talk amongst yourselves while I go and check what Missile is about.
Yeah, these are the things I love. Oddball, off the beaten path kind of things.
I'm just having a look. I am just having a look because I need to have a look. Oh my goodness.
You probably think I'm weird for wanting to do Missile Mouse, but man, I love the stories. They're great. I have all of them. There weren't very many, but I have it.
I don't know why. I'm kind of. There's a slight. What am I remembering? It's kind of like a mix. It looks like if the Disney characters were allowed to actually do what the Disney characters wanted to actually do instead of like going about and going hi kind of thing instead.
Yeah, it's very more cartoony than the stuff that.
What about different? I mean, are you gonna continue with the adventure kind of book theme? Are you thinking, well, I should branch out and do something else? Are you quite happy kind of where you kind of are?
Well, I mean, I love the adventure book line of games that I created in conjunction with my studio manager, Colby. These line of games are great because they're unique. There's something, you open up the book, you play inside the book, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I mean, whether I do any more adventure books or not, I always want to do narrative games. So
Yeah.
story-based narrative games, that's just my jam.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have all kinds of ideas and all kinds of things percolating, and all kinds of stories to tell and ideas for game mechanics that go with them and stuff. So we'll see what the future holds. But yeah, I mean, I can't really say much more than that. Like I said, I couldn't talk about stuff I have coming out this year besides Oh Brother.
I know, and it's not even like you can. It's not even like you can whisper it anymore, because like it's not like I could say, well, nobody's going to listen to this because people have started listening to it. So it's like not even I can like just tell me and nobody else will hear about it. It's like lots of people will be hearing about it kind of now. Aftermath's out just now.
Mm-hmm.
It's been out for a little bit. It's going for, was it about the $60 mark or something like that?
Oh no,
Well,
it's like the $80 mark.
oh, was it 80? Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at it in pounds. I was trying to do the conversion in my head, and obviously it's like my brain is kind of seeking out my ear.
You see it for all different prices though, all over the internet.
It's like I was checking it. It's like going, it's 60, it's 55, it's 62, it's 72. I guess it depends where it kind of goes from. And I take it it's in the normal kind of distribution network, so you can pick it up directly from the Plaid Hat Games website, or you can pick it up from a kind of a retail place of your choice as well. It must be exciting. I mean, it's like it looks fantastic. I'm really really interested in it, as I've always said. I'm kind of like a big fan of your work. Are you going to be doing any of the conventions then? Have you got a plan? Are you going to be kind of?
Yeah, I think I'll probably be going to Origins and Gen Con this year, I think. And who knows about any more.
Yeah.
And I'll be showing off Oh Brother and stuff. So, and other stuff.
When you said Oh Brother, I instantly had George Clooney.
I love that movie.
I was like wondering, is Jerry going bluegrass on us?
I actually love that that the name of my Stuffed Fables expansion shares the name with that movie, and a portion of the name, because there's some interesting similarities between, not necessarily that movie, but the source material that movie is based on. There's some interesting similarities between that movie, that story, and then the one that you're going to play. But
so if we tie it in, you'll be quite happy then.
Yeah. So
cool. We'll make sure, obviously, that we put the links so people can check out kind of Aftermath as well. If they want to check your good self, or your bad self, or your sharp self, actually, to be perfectly honest, where can we find you on the internet webs?
Well, on Twitter, I'm mice_guy. That's my Twitter handle.
Cool.
And that's like probably the best way to, if you want to reach out and follow me or whatever. I always follow everybody right back, unless they're an unsavory kind of spam person or something. But
exactly,
I always follow everybody right back. So yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Cool.
And of course, you can always find me on Board Game Geek.
Yes.
As No Beer Blues is my handle. I don't know why we have handles on that.
I don't
website,
know either.
They're not even like the biggest thing. You can see my real name's on there. So
it just doesn't make any sense. It's like it's even in brackets.
It actually,
so it's not like it's not even like the main thing.
Yeah, it's. If I had it all to do over again, I would use my real name as my tag name on there too.
I don't think there's anybody on Board Game Geek that currently has the name that they wanted to use as their.
Well, that's because it predates all of the modern world. Back then, everybody used a fake name on the internet.
Exactly. It was the anonymity of the kind of the internet. Thank you very, very much again.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
It's always a delight to speak to you. As I say, I'm not going to go fanboy. I promise myself I'm not going to go fanboy, but I am a big fan. And as I say, we will make sure that we put all of the links in the show notes, that we've got notes to show. For everybody who's listened along tonight, thank you very much for listening. If you want to find out the rest of the things that we do, like our written reviews and our photos and our Facebook and everything like that, just go to the internet webs and search for We're Not Wizards. If you like what you've listened to, please jump on to your podcast catcher of choice and give us a rating or a review. If you're on the Apple podcasts, then remember, if you are going to rate us, don't give us 10 stars because it makes us big-headed, but don't give us 1 because it makes us cry. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average, and we are just a little bit average. But the person who's not been average is the rather wonderful, rather fantastic Mr. Jerry Hawthorne.
Oh,
thank you very much, sir. There's only one more, well, there's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is, it's a goodbye from Jerry. Say goodbye, Jerry.
Goodbye, everybody.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s, make something awful. Just check out Aftermath. Check out Stuffed Fables. Check out Mice and Mystics, for goodness sake. Heart of Glorm and everything like that. Take a look. And it's a place of wonder. But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.